Did you know that right now, across bogs and rainforests on every continent except Antarctica, plants are hunting, luring insects with sweet fragrances, snapping shut in fractions of a second, dissolving prey in acids as strong as your stomach, even drowning small mammals in liquid-filled traps the size of footballs? Imagine a plant that can count to 5, that remembers being touched, that distinguishes between raindrops and struggling insects before deciding whether to snap its jaws shut. Or a plant with underwater vacuum chambers that inhale prey in 1/500th of a second, faster than you can blink, one of the fastest movements in the entire plant kingdom. Today, I'll reveal the 15 most extraordinary carnivorous plants on Earth, botanical predators that have abandoned peaceful photosynthesis to become hunters, evolving traps so sophisticated they challenge everything we think we know about plant intelligence. From a plant that grows toilets to feed tree shrews in exchange for their feces, to a bromeliad that murders insects through optical illusions. Stay to the end, because number 1 is a plant so mechanically impossible that when scientists first studied it, they couldn't believe natural selection alone could produce such sophistication. Let's begin. Number 15. Butterwort pinguicula, the greasy assassin. Picture leaves that glisten like they've been brushed with butter, colored pale green or deep purple, covered in what appears to be morning dew, but is actually 2 types of predatory glands, some producing sticky mucilage that traps prey, others secreting digestive enzymes that dissolve it alive. This is butterwort, and the innocent greasy appearance conceals a sophisticated flypaper trap. When a gnat or fruit fly lands, attracted by the wet gleam, it sticks immediately. The prey struggles, contacting more glands, spreading more glue across delicate wings and legs. Then, the leaf begins to curl, slowly, inexorably, the margins rolling inward over hours, pressing the doomed insect against digestive glands that begin dissolving it while it still writhes. For centuries, Scandinavian farmers placed fresh butterwort leaves in milk to cause curdling, the same enzymes that digest insects transforming milk proteins into traditional fermented products. The plant was valued not for beauty, but utility, a carnivore conscripted into dairy production. What few know is that butterwort switches identities seasonally. Summer leaves are flat, broad, covered in deadly glands. Winter leaves, in temperate species, are small, thick, non-carnivorous, built purely for survival when insects vanish, and carnivory costs more energy than it yields. That's butterwort, a plant with greasy leaves that curl around victims, that murders in summer and rests in winter. Proof that carnivory is expensive enough that plants switch it off when prey grows scarce. Number 14. Rainbow plant, Byblis, the iridescent executioner. Imagine a plant so covered in glistening tentacles that it refracts sunlight into rainbow colors, red bleeding into orange, gold into green, blue shimmering like opals, creating an iridescent shimmer that makes the entire plant look like it's been covered in tiny prisms. This is Byblis, the rainbow plant, native to Australia, and it represents flypaper carnivory at its most seductive. The tentacles produce mucilage droplets that act as microscopic lenses, bending light into spectral bands that shift and dance as the plant moves in desert wind. Insects see the sparkle from meters away, mistaking it for water or nectar. They land. They stick. And unlike sundews, Byblis doesn't move its tentacles. The trapping is entirely passive, relying purely on adhesion and digestive enzymes that begin flowing immediately. But here's what makes Biblis truly sinister. It may cultivate assassin bugs that live among the sticky tentacles, immune to the glue through some biochemical trick. The bugs feed on trapped insects too large for Biblis to digest alone, mechanically shredding them, their feces falling onto leaves where the plant absorbs concentrated nitrogen. It's a division of labor. Plant provides the trap, bugs provide the butchery. That's Biblis, beauty that refracts light into killing colors, a plant that possibly farms assassin bugs as partners in murder. Number 13. Water wheel plant, Aldrovanda vesiculosa, the aquatic snare. Picture a rootless plant floating freely through still waters, and spaced along its stem like beads on a string, tiny traps, each about 3 millimeters across, that look exactly like miniature Venus flytraps, complete with trigger hairs and hinged lobes that snap shut in 10 to 20 milliseconds when prey brushes past. This is Aldrovanda, the water wheel plant, essentially a Venus flytrap that learned to swim. Each trap consists of 2 lobes hinged along a midrib. Water fleas, mosquito larvae, tiny aquatic invertebrates touch the trigger hairs. The trap snaps shut faster than prey can react, enclosing victims in a sealed chamber where digestive glands begin secreting enzymes. The plant has no roots, no anchor. It floats freely, photosynthesizing through leaves and traps, hunting as it drifts. The plant must constantly balance buoyancy. Each trap that closes and fills with water adds weight. It compensates through continuous growth and death, always extending from the tip, always shedding old traps from the tail end, maintaining constant length. It's a plant in perpetual renewal, never still, never rooted. A wanderer surviving through motion. Once widespread across Europe, Asia, Africa, and Australia, Aldrovanda has vanished from most of its range. Habitat loss and pollution pushing it toward extinction. That's Aldrovanda, an aquatic Venus flytrap, rootless and drifting, vanishing as the clear waters it needs disappear. Number 12. Cobra lily, Darlingtonia californica. The serpent's deception. Imagine walking through a mountain bog and seeing what appears to be a field of cobras. Hooded heads raised, forked tongues extended, bodies curved in striking posture. Except they're plants, green and red serpents rooted in cold earth, hunting through architectural deception. This is Darlingtonia, the cobra lily, and it kills through confusion. The picture rises from boggy soil, curves gracefully, then swells into a bulbous hood covered with translucent windows. Areolae, where chlorophyll is absent, allowing light to penetrate. Beneath the hood hangs the forked tongue dripping with nectar. Insects land, feed, wander upward into the hood, and once inside, they see light streaming through the windows and instinctively fly toward it, believing it's escape. But the windows are solid tissue. They crash repeatedly, exhausting themselves, while the actual entrance behind them remains dark and unnoticed. What few know is that Darlingtonia demands ice-cold water around its roots. It grows in seeps fed by snowmelt, where water rarely exceeds 15 degrees Celsius. The roots cannot tolerate warmth, restricting it to mountain bogs at specific elevations. That's Darlingtonia, a plant disguised as a cobra, hunting through architecture that exploits insect behavior, demanding ice-cold water to survive. Number 11. Sundew, Drosera capensis, the jeweled executioner. Picture a rosette of leaves covered in hundreds of ruby droplets that sparkle in morning sun like precious gems. This is the Cape sundew, and it represents flypaper carnivory perfected. beauty weaponized, death delivered through gradual inevitable embrace. Each leaf bristles with stalked glands, tentacles tipped with mucilage, containing long-chain polysaccharides, creating molecular bonds stronger than most synthetic glues. When a fly lands, it sticks immediately. Larger insects struggle, but struggle only worsens their fate. Each movement contacts more tentacles, spreads more glue, binds more body parts. Then the tentacles move. Adjacent stalks detect the struggling and bend, slowly, over 10 to 30 minutes, converging on the capture, adding their mucilage and digestive enzymes. The leaf itself may curl, wrapping around larger prey to maximize contact with digestive glands that secrete enzymes, liquefying proteins and fats while the prey remains conscious. For centuries, European herbalists believed sundews could dissolve kidney stones, sympathetic magic reasoning that if the plant dissolves insects, perhaps it dissolves stones. That's the sundew, jewels that are glue, tentacles that embrace, leaves that curl around victims, beauty that's literally a trap. Number 10. Bladderwort, Utricularia, the vacuum assassin. Imagine an aquatic plant with no roots, covered in bladders smaller than pinheads, and inside each bladder, nothing, just vacuum, negative pressure coiled like a spring, waiting to inhale prey in 1/500th of a second. One of the fastest movements in the entire plant kingdom. This is bladderwort, and it hunts through suction so powerful that prey has no chance to react. Each bladder is a hollow sac with an entrance sealed by a door that opens inward. The plant actively pumps water out, creating partial vacuum. The bladder walls strain under negative pressure, held rigid, ready. When prey, water fleas, mosquito larvae, protozoans, touches trigger hairs, the door springs open, the bladder inhales water and prey in 2 milliseconds, and the door snaps shut. The capture happens too fast for high-speed photography to capture clearly. Inside the sealed chamber, digestive enzymes begin flowing. Over several days, the prey is liquefied. Simultaneously, the bladder pumps water out again, resetting the vacuum. A single bladder can fire repeatedly over weeks. Capture, digest, reset, wait, capture, again. Over 200 Utricularia species exist worldwide, found on every continent except Antarctica, hunting in waters from Arctic tundra to tropical swamps. That's bladderwort, suction chambers that fire faster than thought, reusable traps that reset automatically, a rootless hunter conquering every aquatic habitat through vacuum-powered murder. Number 9. American pitcher plant, Sarracenia purpurea, the bacterial garden. Picture a plant that doesn't produce digestive enzymes, but instead cultivates bacterial communities in its pitchers, like a farmer tending crops. Essentially managing an ecosystem where bacteria break down prey, while the plant absorbs the products of microbial digestion. This is Sarracenia purpurea, the purple pitcher plant, and it represents carnivory as agriculture. The pitchers are squat vessels oriented horizontally, designed to collect rainwater. Inside each pitcher lives a complex food web: bacteria, protozoans, rotifers, midge larvae, mosquito larvae. The bacteria are essential. They decompose drowned insects, breaking down tough exoskeletons into simpler compounds the plant absorbs through pitcher walls. The plant tolerates mosquito larvae living in its pitchers because they help shred large prey items, accelerating bacterial decomposition. Everyone profits from the arrangement except the drowned insects being collectively dismembered and digested. The most curious part? Sarracenia purpurea survives being frozen solid. Its range extends into subarctic Canada, where winter temperatures plunge below -40 degrees Celsius. The pitchers freeze, the bacterial communities enter dormancy, and in spring everything thaws and resumes functioning. That's Sarracenia purpurea, a plant that farms bacteria instead of producing enzymes, cultivates ecosystems in every pitcher, survives being frozen solid. Number 8. Albany pitcher plant, Cephalotus follicularis, the miniature perfection. Imagine a tiny plant in southwestern Australian swamps that produces miniature pitchers shaped like medieval drinking jugs, each barely 1 to 2 inches tall, yet architecturally perfect in every detail. This is Cephalotus, the Albany pitcher plant, and it represents convergent evolution in miniature. Nature discovering the pitfall trap independently. The pitchers are segmented into zones of doom. The rim produces nectar. Below lies the waxy zone where feet find no purchase. Deeper still, downward-pointing hairs prevent any upward movement. At the bottom, digestive glands secrete enzymes. The entire architecture is optimized, each zone serving a specific purpose, nothing wasted. But Cephalotus adjusts its carnivorous investment based on conditions. During favorable times, more pitchers develop for increased hunting. During stress, the plant produces more flat leaves for photosynthesis and reduces pitcher production. Carnivory is treated as optional enhancement rather than absolute requirement. Cephalotus grows in a tiny corner of southwestern Australia, in peaty wetlands with such specific conditions that its range has never exceeded a few hundred square kilometers. That's Cephalotus, miniature perfection in carnivorous architecture, a plant that treats hunting as optional investment, convergent evolution discovering pitfall traps independently. Number 7. Parrot pitcher plant, Sarracenia sitacina, the lobster pot. Picture a pitcher plant that abandoned trapping flying insects and instead evolved pitchers lying flat on the ground, snaking through moss like serpents, designed to trap crawling prey that wander in and cannot find the exit. This is Sarracenia sitacina, the parrot pitcher, and it hunts through disorientation. The pitchers lie horizontal, colored red and green. The entrance opens near ground level, where crawling insects stumble upon it. Once inside, the architecture becomes deliberately confusing. Translucent areolae in the walls create bright spots that insects move toward, thinking they're exits. But they're just windows. Meanwhile, the actual entrance, now behind them and dark, goes unnoticed in their panic. What few know is that Sarracenia sitacina is amphibious. When floodwaters rise, the pitchers become completely submerged, transforming from terrestrial traps into true aquatic lobster pots. Aquatic prey enter, become confused, and cannot escape. The plant switches strategies based on water level. The one-way passage is created by dense, downward-pointing hairs that permit forward movement, but make reversal impossible. Mechanical irreversibility, a ratchet moving only toward death. That's Sarracenia sitacina, a lobster pot hunting on land and underwater, a maze with entrances but no exits. Number 6. Nepenthes raja, the mammal drowning giant. Imagine a plant that grows pitchers the size of footballs, holding up to 3.5 liters of digestive fluid, deep enough to drown rats, large enough to digest frogs and lizards, occasionally even small birds. This is Nepenthes raja, king of pitcher plants, growing only on Mount Kinabalu in Borneo, and it represents carnivory scaled up to vertebrate prey. The pitchers are architectural triumphs. The rim produces nectar that lures prey. The surface is slippery when wet, coated with waxy crystals providing zero traction. Below, the walls are polished smooth with downward-pointing scales preventing climbing. It's a one-way entrance, easy to enter by accident, impossible to escape. Inside, digestive fluid contains enzymes, acids, and bacterial communities. But Nepenthes raja does something even more remarkable. It supplements carnivory by farming tree shrews for their feces. The pitcher rim is positioned at exactly the height for tree shrews to sit while feeding on nectar. As the shrew feeds, it defecates, dropping nitrogen-rich waste directly into the pitcher. For centuries, indigenous peoples of Borneo used these giant pitchers as cooking vessels, boiling rice inside them over fires. That's Nepenthes raja, a plant that drowns vertebrates, farms mammals for feces, grows pitchers large enough to cook rice in. Number 5. Nepenthes lowi, the toilet bowl plant. Picture a pitcher plant that has almost entirely abandoned insect catching and instead evolved to become a toilet for small mammals. Tree shrews and mountain rats climb up to feed on abundant nectar while perched on the rim, and they defecate directly into the pitcher while feeding. This is Nepenthes lowi, and it represents mutualism evolved from murder. The upper pitchers are shaped specifically for mammal accommodation. The rim is wide, positioned at perfect height and angle for tree shrews to sit comfortably. The hood is reduced, and nectar production is extraordinarily abundant on the inner rim surface, creating a reliable food source worth regular visits. Research revealed that tree shrews visit lowi pitchers regularly, spending minutes feeding. While feeding, they defecate, and analysis showed over 50% of the plant's nitrogen comes from tree shrew feces rather than insect capture. Mountain rats also use the pitchers, sometimes sleeping in them, defecating inside. What makes this remarkable is the complete reversal from typical carnivory. Most carnivorous plants lure prey to death. Nepenthes lowi lures mammals to feed, benefits from their waste. Both parties benefit. That's Nepenthes lowi, a pitcher plant that evolved into a toilet, a carnivore that became a mutualist. Proof that plants can transform murder into partnership. Number 4. Dewy pine, Drosophilum lusitanicum, the Mediterranean anomaly. Imagine a carnivorous plant that grows not in wet bogs, but on dry, rocky Mediterranean slopes, surviving hot summers and alkaline soils that would kill typical carnivorous plants, covered in so much sticky resin that hundreds of insects get trapped daily. This is Drosophilum, the dewy pine, and it's a botanical paradox. The plant looks like a small pine tree covered in glandular hairs, producing mucilage so abundantly that resin-like droplets drip down stems, creating a three-dimensional sticky net. Insects trapped on upper portions often struggle free only to fall onto lower portions and get caught again. What makes Drosophilum remarkable is location. It grows in Portugal, Morocco, and southern Spain in dry, rocky soils completely unsuitable for typical carnivorous plants. It's adapted through extensive roots, accessing deep moisture and producing mucilage so abundantly that it can catch prey without standing water. The most curious part? Drosophilum represents independent evolution of carnivory. Genetic studies show it's only distantly related to sundews. It evolved flypaper traps convergently. That's Drosophilum, a carnivorous plant thriving where others fail, catching hundreds daily through sticky resin, independent evolution of carnivory. Number 3. Corkscrew plant, Genlisea, the underground spiral. Picture a plant hunting entirely underground, using spiral-shaped tubular leaves that trap microscopic organisms in one-way passages they enter but never escape. This is Genlisea, the corkscrew plant, and it hunts in darkness through spiral geometry. The plant grows with 2 leaf types, normal photosynthetic leaves above ground, and bizarre underground structures that are hollow tubes branching into 2 spiral arms, twisting like DNA helices. Inner surfaces are covered with downward-pointing hairs, allowing movement in only one direction, inward toward the central digestive chamber. The traps target protozoans, bacteria, microorganisms in soil water. These microscopic prey enter the spiral arms, and once inside, the structure guides them inward. The downward hairs permit forward movement, but prevent reversal. It's a one-way valve at microscopic scale. When prey reaches the central tube, digestive enzymes dissolve them. What's most remarkable is minimalism. The traps have no moving parts, no sensors, no triggers. They're purely architectural, passive structures exploiting prey behavior. The spiral creates directionality. The hairs create one-way flow. The chamber provides digestion. That's Genlisea, underground spirals that catch invisible prey, one-way passages at microscopic scale, architecture as execution. Number 2. Venus flytrap, Dionea muscipula, the trap that counts. Picture a plant with leaves modified into hinged jaws, edged with interlocking teeth, colored blood red inside, and capable of something that seems impossible: counting, remembering, making decisions without possessing a brain or nervous system. This is the Venus flytrap, and despite being sold worldwide, it grows wild in only one place: a 60-mile radius around Wilmington, North Carolina. Each trap contains 3 trigger hairs. Here's what makes it remarkable. The plant counts. A single touch produces an electrical signal, but the trap doesn't close. The plant is waiting. If a second touch occurs within approximately 20 seconds, the trap snaps shut in 1/10 of a second. This prevents wasting energy on false triggers. After closing, if the plant doesn't detect continued movement inside, it reopens within 12 to 24 hours, having determined the trigger was false. If movement continues, the trap seals tighter, and digestive enzymes begin flowing, calibrated to prey's size. The snap itself occurs through one of the fastest shape changes in the plant kingdom. The lobes shift from convex to concave in milliseconds through rapid water movement and turgor pressure changes. That's the Venus flytrap, a plant that counts to 2, remembers for 20 seconds, makes decisions without a brain. Proof that intelligence doesn't require nervous systems. Number 1. Catopsis berteroniana, the carnivorous bromeliad. Imagine a bromeliad growing in Central American rainforest canopy. Its leaves covered in reflective waxy powder, creating a mirror-like finish, and insects flying past see their reflection, mistake it for open sky, and fly directly into the water-filled center where they drown. This is Catopsis berteroniana, and it wasn't discovered as carnivorous until 2009, representing the most sophisticated trapping mechanism and possibly evidence that carnivorous plants still hide unrecognized. The waxy powder is highly reflective, particularly to UV light that insects perceive, but humans cannot. To insect eyes, the leaves appear as bright reflective surfaces resembling open sky, signals indicating safe flight paths. Insects navigating through forest canopy maintain orientation by moving toward open sky. When they see Catopsis leaves reflecting light like sky, they adjust flight paths toward it. Instead, they fly directly into the water-filled rosette and drown. Research confirming carnivory measured nitrogen isotopes in tissues. Carnivorous plants show elevated 15N to 14N ratios because animal tissue has different isotopic signatures. Catopsis showed elevated ratios consistent with carnivory, and removing prey experimentally reduced growth. What makes this discovery alarming is timing. Carnivory was confirmed only in 2009. This suggests other carnivorous plants may still be unrecognized, their mechanisms so subtle we haven't noticed them yet. That's Catopsis berteroniana, optical illusion as murder weapon. Carnivory discovered in 2009 after hiding for millennia. Proof that nature still conceals botanical predators we haven't recognized. From Venus flytraps that count to bromeliads that exploit insect navigation through optical illusions, these 15 plants share a profound truth. Carnivory isn't a single evolutionary event, but a strategy so successful that plants discovered it independently at least 6 separate times. What strikes me most is the diversity. Some snap mechanically, others use sticky glue. Still others drown prey in pitchers or vacuum chambers. Some digest with enzymes, others outsource to bacteria. Some hunt above ground, others underground. This diversity suggests carnivory is infinitely adaptable. These plants also challenge assumptions about plant intelligence. They count, remember, make decisions, move faster than animal reflexes. They demonstrate that sophisticated behavior doesn't require brains, just clever biochemistry. But carnivorous plants are vulnerable. Most require habitats disappearing rapidly, nutrient-poor wetlands drained, tropical forests cleared, ecosystems suppressed. We're losing them before understanding them fully, because sometimes the most sophisticated hunters are rooted in place. Sometimes the fastest movements come from plants we overlook. And sometimes understanding nature means accepting that plants can be predators as deadly and elegant as any animal.